Firstly, you always want to self-custody your coins. History is full of breaches of this trust. In terms of what we're looking for in the most secure hardware wallet out there, every single wallet in this world has to connect to a Bitcoin node. When you by default connect to somebody else's node, you have to tell them your Bitcoin addresses, you have to leak information to them, but when I run my own node, I'm leaking information to myself, nobody else. I'm not trusting or relying on any third parties. So your Bitcoin is secured by a password that is so large that it's impossible to replicate, and that's about 128 bits. Bitcoin itself is secure, but you also need to ensure that you're using it securely. So you can do everything from generating your seed phrase to signing transactions completely offline with no connection to your computer ever. Probably the number one pick at the moment. The best way to secure your coins is...
Hello and welcome back. Our today's topic is steps on becoming sovereign Bitcoiner. And I am joined by Bitcoin security expert known as Southern Bitcoiner. Cole, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Cole, can you please introduce yourself and tell us what do you do and what made you to specialize in Bitcoin security?
Yeah, so my name is Cole. I'm from South Africa, very far away from the rest of the world. And I first got into Bitcoin about 5 years ago because my buddy was into it. He fell down the rabbit hole and got me involved, and then I fell down the rabbit hole. And ever since then, I guess I've been stacking 100% of everything I can save in Bitcoin. And as a result, I need to know how to secure that Bitcoin that I'm stacking. It's all my life's work. And that's how I kind of got into the security rabbit hole as well, because I had to secure my wealth. And with Bitcoin comes great responsibility. We have this technology you can really own in your head if you wanted to. You could own your seed in your head, and it's sovereign money, and with that sovereign money comes great responsibility. So that's why I dived into it. And then I had a look on YouTube and all these learning platforms, and I found that with my generation, everything needs to be short. Everyone has a short attention span. So I thought I'd go and make these videos explaining how to secure your Bitcoin quickly, concisely, and straight to the point. So that's why I'm here, and that's why I make YouTube videos now on Bitcoin security, how to secure your coins, how to manage them, and how to use different wallets and nodes.
I also saw that you have your website. Can you please tell us also more about what are you offering there for people?
Yeah, so I've got two websites. southernbitcoiner.com is a blog, purely educational, where you can read articles which typically link to the YouTube channel. And secondly, I have secusats.com because secure sats was taken. So it's secusats, SECU-sats.com. And there I offer one-on-one support. So if you're looking to improve your Bitcoin setup or just ask questions about Bitcoin, I can help you one-on-one with that. Most commonly, people are using ledger devices, which isn't the best way to secure your coins. I'm sure we'll discuss that. And they're moving to a cold card, and they want to do it in the most secure fashion possible. And I'll guide them through that whole process.
Okay, so let's just start with fundamentals, because I think that there is going to be some people who may ask themselves, how secure is Bitcoin? How secure is it? Its base layer protocol and our Bitcoins in it?
So there's a few layers to the security of Bitcoin. Firstly is Bitcoin it's a distributed blockchain. It's a distributed ledger, and thousands of people across the world are running what we call Bitcoin nodes. And these nodes, they store a copy of every transaction ever made. So this is kind of like the first layer of security. Because so many people are storing this copy of the blockchain, it's very hard to cheat the system, because if I suddenly said my Bitcoin wallet has all the coins, all the other nodes who track the transaction history would say, no, you don't. All of us disagree with that. So firstly, it's very decentralized. It's scattered across the planet, and these people secure and ensure that everyone is following the rules. And any attempt to manipulate the rules will be rejected by the rest of these thousands of nodes. Secondly, we have a process called mining. So this is where miners will take transactions, include them into blocks, and kind of confirm your transaction when I send you Bitcoin. It needs a confirmation. And the mining process uses something called proof of work, which is very energy intensive. It requires a lot of energy to mine Bitcoin. And one of the ways to attack Bitcoin is to control a lot of this mining power. You need about 51% of the mining power to attack Bitcoin. This is known as a 51% attack. And there are thousands of miners across this world all competing to mine the next block. And they use so much energy that it's practically impossible for any single person to get 51% of that energy, because firstly, they need all the hardware. They need to effectively double how much hardware is mining, which is just an impossible feat. Secondly, they need to double how much energy they're using. So imagine how much energy is being used today. I'm sure there's stats out there. It's like the equivalent of Argentina's energy output, something like that. So you would have to do that as well, get that amount of energy, and then only you could attack Bitcoin. So it is so expensive that it's physically impossible. It's like there's a wall of energy securing Bitcoin, and it's way too expensive for anyone to breach, even a government. And then another layer is encryption. So Bitcoin uses cryptography to secure your coins, and your wallet is essentially secured with 128 bits of encryption. And what that means is it just means there's a very low chance someone could ever guess your seed phrase. Your Bitcoin is secured by a password that is so large that it's impossible to replicate, and that's about 128 bits. And for context, 128 bits of security or randomness, or a 128-bit password in strength, is equivalent to somebody guessing a star in the observable universe. So out of all the stars we can see with the satellites, telescopes and things like that, there are more possible combinations of passwords that protect our Bitcoin than stars in the universe. So somebody would have to guess a star in the universe, then a cell in the average human body. That's how difficult it would be to crack a Bitcoin wallet. So that's the third layer of security. And it's important to note that Bitcoin itself is secure, but you also need to ensure that you're using it securely. Because if I create a seed phrase or the password to my Bitcoin in my head, and I don't follow the best practice, it isn't as secure as it should be. So, for example, if I make my seed phrase a song lyrics, then that's going to be cracked very easily, because it's not a strong password. So you need to ensure that you're generating your seed phrase randomly, and you need to secure it offline, which we'll discuss a bit later. So yeah, Bitcoin's very secure, and you do have the responsibility of securing it too.
Okay, what are the different types of wallet technologies available out there, and could you please rank them from least safe to most safe in general as technologies, in your opinion?
Yeah. So firstly, I put wallets into four main categories. There is hot wallet versus cold wallet, and then you have custodial versus self-custodial. So a hot wallet means that earlier I was talking about the super secure password or seed phrase that secures your Bitcoin. A hot wallet stores your seed phrase on an internet connected device. Right now I'm speaking to you over my computer. Obviously I'm connected to the internet, otherwise I couldn't reach you. And if I store a seed phrase on this computer, that's a hot wallet. And the problem with this wallet is that because it connects to the internet, it's more vulnerable to hacking. Anything that connects to the internet is vulnerable to hacking. So that's a hot wallet. A cold wallet, in contrast, stores your seed phrase offline. It doesn't touch an internet connected device. So the most common type of cold wallet today is a hardware wallet, like a Coldcard or a Trezor or a Ledger or a Blockstream Jade. These are specifically built devices with the goal of securing your seed phrase offline. So that's a cold wallet. Just to summarize, hot wallet stores your seed phrase on internet, cold wallet off the internet. Then the other categories are self-custodial versus custodial. And the key here is who actually owns your Bitcoin. If I own my Bitcoin because I own the seed phrase, then that's self-custodial. I own the Bitcoin myself. If I have coins on an exchange like Coinbase or Kraken, for example, Kraken's a good example. They hold, if you have your Bitcoin in there, it belongs to their seed phrase. It's not actually your coins. It's just an IOU. You trust them to secure your coins. And those are kind of like the four main categories. Firstly, you always want to self-custody your coins. History is full of breaches of this trust. When you trust an exchange, we've seen huge mess-ups in the past, and people have lost millions of dollars to this, billions of dollars to this. So you must always secure your own coins. It comes with responsibility, but Satoshi gave us this tech for a reason, so use it to its advantage. So you always want self-custodial. That's the secure option. Next is hot wallets versus cold wallets. The least secure one is the hot wallet, because your seed phrase is connected to the internet, and the more secure one is a cold wallet. Now, cold wallets today are almost always hardware wallets. People don't really use other types of cold wallets anymore. So we used to have paper backups, but I rarely see people using that nowadays. It's mainly hardware wallets. So the most secure way to secure your Bitcoin is with a hardware wallet. For example, a Coldcard. It is specifically designed to store your seed phrase offline. And of course, because you own your seed phrase, it's self-custodial. You're not trusting somebody else to secure it. So the best way to secure your coins is firstly self-custodial, and secondly in a cold wallet. So those are kind of the two boxes you need to check.
Also, I want you to expand a little bit more about hardware wallets, because, there are some wallets with Bluetooth, and so, with wires only, without screens, and with screens. Can you please also tell us which one of those would you choose, whether it's wiring, without, with Bluetooth, because people, as you said, they are not patient. They just want fast, and as easy as possible. But we are going to focus on this video about the most secure way so you can sleep best possible.
Yeah. So in terms of what we're looking for in the most secure hardware wallet out there, firstly, you want the source code to be viewable or open source. You want to know that they're not doing anything malicious behind the scenes. So you must be able to see the code, which is open source or source viewable. Second, you don't want your hardware device to connect to a computer via cable. You would prefer it to be air-gapped where it doesn't connect to your computer at all. You use some sort of SD card or QR code to connect with the computer. And you also, if you're storing only Bitcoin, a Bitcoin-only hardware device is best, because it reduces the attack surface. There isn't so much more code running to secure thousands of coins. There's less code, and the developers can focus purely on securing Bitcoin. So Coldcard ticks all those boxes. I believe Coldcard to be one of the best hardware wallets. And Foundation Passport is also a good option, but Coldcard is probably the number one pick at the moment.
Most of the hardware wallets that are available are with wiring and Bluetooth and so forth. But the Coldcard, I think, is one of the maybe very few, which offers people, wireless, transaction signing and so forth. So why is it Coldcard so safe, in your opinion? And Coldcard also offers a feature which is called dice rolling. Can you please explain what is the dice rolling option and the Coldcard safety?
Yeah. So with the Coldcard, it's fully air-gapped. Like you said, it doesn't have Bluetooth, or it doesn't connect to your computer via a physical cable. So you can do everything from generating your seed phrase to signing transactions completely offline with no connection to your computer ever. A Trezor, for example, connects to your computer. You have to plug it in. So that's what makes the Coldcard more secure. With the dice rolls, your seed phrase needs to be generated randomly, because think of it like this. If I use a password 1234, that's going to be quite easy to crack. If I use a password that's randomly generated with a whole bunch of random characters like H, Z, F, D, exclamation mark, and so on, the random one is far harder to crack. So your seed phrase needs to be random. Dice rolls are pretty random. So Bitcoin developers found a way where you could roll dice to generate your own source of randomness through dice rolls, and you convert that randomness into your seed phrase. So if you roll 100 dice, that equates to a 24-word seed phrase, and the randomness is derived fully by you. If you aren't doing that, you're trusting the hardware wallet itself to generate randomness. You're not doing it yourself. There's a degree of trust involved. Hardware wallets do have special chips that do this random number generation, but if you're a paranoid user like myself, you roll 100 dice, and that is your source of randomness to generate your final seed. And that is completely removing the trust on any hardware wallet manufacturer.
Yeah, you have answered my question, because I am very positive person, but paranoid when it comes to finances and, keeping your wealth. So I think, so would you recommend to rolling the dice if a person buys Coldcard and, generates and setups his device?
So you must understand what you're doing if you want to do this. There are cases where people don't roll enough dice rolls to create a random enough seed phrase. So for example, there's cases where people don't understand they need a sufficient amount of dice to create a sufficient amount of randomness to create a random seed. So they may roll 5 dice, they think it's enough, and they use that to generate their seed. It's not random at all, and their Bitcoin is wiped out of that wallet. So it's key to understand your dice rolls. You need 100 dice rolls for 24 words, and you need 50 dice rolls for 12 words minimum. You must not do less than that. Secondly, you need to make sure the output of your dice is random as well. For example, if I roll 5 dice and I pick the numbers I like best, you're not doing it completely random. So what you would want to do is roll the dice, maybe 5 at a time, and you need to set rules. For example, you might say, I need to read them left to right. So every single time I would take the left one first, and then the second one, then the third, fourth, and fifth. You can't pick and choose. Humans are very bad at generating things randomly. You need to let the dice do their thing. Also, if you roll dice and there's 6 fours in a row, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, whatever, that's random. It may not seem random, but that is the dice doing their thing. You need to let them do their thing and enter it into the cold card honestly. So those are the 2 things. The second one is less important. The first one is more important. You must do at minimum 50 rolls for 12 and 100 rolls for 24 words. Now, I think I've missed your overall question. Should you do it, right? I think you should if you know what you're doing. So if you understand what I've just said and you want to reduce your reliance on the cold card for generating that for you, then go ahead and roll dice. If you're new to this stuff, if you're just getting started, don't roll dice. It's a more advanced feature.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that you have the exact video on your YouTube channel on how to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna put down the links in the description below for the people, so make sure you watch it if you decide to do it. But we will come back to this question a bit later. And so my next question will be, what is the Bitcoin node? And should a person run it? And if yes, why and when?
Okay. Yeah, a Bitcoin node is just a computer that stores the entire blockchain history on that computer. So Bitcoin has been running since 2009, and it's just a whole bunch of transactions. Nodes are the computers or devices that store these transactions. They store transaction history. And that's simply what a node is. And when you run your own node, you yourself keep a copy of the blockchain, and you don't have to rely on anybody else to tell you what the blockchain says. Every single wallet in this world has to connect to a Bitcoin node. Otherwise, it would not be able to fetch transaction history. It wouldn't be able to tell you what your balance is, because these nodes store that information. So if you're running a wallet right now and you're not sure if it's connected to a node, it is but it's connected to somebody else's. Now, the reason you would want to run your own node is because you want to stop relying on somebody else to tell you what the truth is about what's going on the blockchain. So when I run my wallet, it connects to my own node, so I'm being told the truth by my node, which I trust. I already trust it because it's mine. Secondly, it's a privacy thing. When you by default connect to somebody else's node, you have to tell them your Bitcoin addresses so that they can check how much Bitcoin you have. You have to leak information to them. But when I run my own node, I'm leaking information to myself, nobody else. I'm not trusting or relying on any third parties. So you would want to run your node for privacy gains and to reduce your reliance on others. And you'd also want it to strengthen the Bitcoin network. Because you're storing a copy of the whole blockchain, and because you're just an individual anywhere in the world, you're strengthening Bitcoin by making it more decentralized. The more people who store the copy of the blockchain, the stronger Bitcoin is. It's more distributed and it's more decentralized. When you should run a node, I don't think you should start Bitcoin and run a node immediately. It's definitely something that should come down the line. For example, you've got $100 in Bitcoin, you don't need to spend $500 on getting a node set up. If you've been in Bitcoin for a while and you'd like to support the network and you do a lot of Bitcoin stuff and you want your node, you don't want to leak any information to anybody else, then you run your node. So it's a more advanced feature, but I think if you are a Bitcoiner and you really love this technology and what Bitcoin stands for, you should aspire to eventually get your own node running and connect your wallet to it as well.
And you mentioned about the budget. How much does it cost, to buy a setup for running a node? And does it require to buy access, to your own server? And, just tell us how does it work, please?
Yeah. So there's two main ways to do it. Either you can build your own computer, you buy computer parts. You'll need a disk to store the transaction history in SSD or a hard drive, and you'll need a computer to do all the operation. Or you can just buy a pre-built node. So for example, I have a pre-built one. I bought one that a company, it's called Start9 made. I bought it and it was running immediately. If you DIY, if you do it yourself, it's a bit more complex. You need a bit of knowledge as to how to put the computer together and how to flash the node firmware on that device. And I think, I'm not sure off the top of my head, if you build your own node, maybe $300 to get one running. And if you buy a pre-built one, it could be about $500. And the software or the firmware that you run is free. So you can do it completely free if you want to. There will just be a hardware cost.
Okay, so let's say a person have saved, let's just take example, $1,000. And he has been holding his Bitcoin for 2 years. And he decided for security purposes to run his node. What option could you recommend to him?
Probably, you could also run, one thing I forgot to mention previously is you actually can run Bitcoin Core on your daily driver computer. So if he's got a MacBook, for example, I've got one running here, you can just run Bitcoin on your machine, but it slows things down and it's not very ideal. You don't want to do it on the computer you use every day. So that is possible. If he's only got $1,000, that's probably what I would recommend. That's how I did it for a very long time, but I got very sick of it because you don't want your computer running 24/7, your daily driver computer. So I'd have to not let it run for about a week, and then I'd have to catch up every time I wanted to sync my node and connect to my wallet. So that for $1,000, I'd probably do that. Once you've got more Bitcoin, just buying a pre-built one is easiest, like a Start9 or whatever it may be. You could, if you have old computers lying around, you could try run it on that as well. So if you have some sort of old laptop that you don't use anymore, you could try putting the firmware on there, like Start9 firmware, or you could put Bitcoin Core on there and try get the node running on there. It won't run on everything if it's too old and you might face some issues, but you can give it a go. So in his case, probably run it on his own machine, or if he's got something old lying around, get that. But I wouldn't spend $500 on a node if I were him.
Okay, and now moving on to more serious example. Let's say a person holds over $100,000 in Bitcoin, and he wants, maximum security, but not too extreme.
Yeah, if I were them, I would just buy a Start9. Nice and easy, pre-built. Plug it into your Wi-Fi, plug it into your Wi-Fi network and into power, and it runs. It starts. Run Bitcoin Core and your Electrum server. It's all pre-built. It's all pre-done for you by Start9. Click play, let it do its thing, let it sync, and then connect to your Sparrow wallet. It's very easy. Then your balance isn't being leaked to anyone. So if you've got that much Bitcoin, definitely just, I think, buy a pre-built Start9. That's easiest. And you'll, from that point forward, once you connect your node to your wallet, you won't be leaking that information to a third party anymore. Before your node, you were probably connecting to some random person you don't even know, and they would have all your information, your transaction history and your balances.
And how safe is this device in your experience?
Yeah, I've had a great experience with Start9. No security issues. I don't know of any security issues with Start9. At the end of the day, it doesn't store your Bitcoin at all. It's purely running Bitcoin node and telling your wallet what your balance is. So it never stores seed phrases anyway. So you wouldn't really need to worry about it compromising your funds in the first place, maybe compromising your security. It connects through Tor over the Tor network. It's got multiple layers of encryption to get to your wallet. It's run locally as well. So it runs on your own Wi-Fi network. If you're connected to that network, it's how you connect, or through Tor. So I would say it's very secure, and it never stores funds anyway. So you wouldn't have to worry about risking Bitcoin at all in the first place.
Okay, let's say a person still questions after all we have just discussed. And let's say he starts with $50 a month. How would you walk him through the steps? And let's say that later on he will increase his holdings to 10,000, to maybe 20, 50, and so forth.
Yeah, if you're just getting started and you're a beginner, just simply downloading a hot wallet on your phone, like Blue Wallet, is a great way to start. That's how I started. That's how I start people, my family and friends. If they're just getting into this, it's not the most secure option, but just starting with that wallet on a phone is perfect. There's no problem with that. Once you have more Bitcoin and you want to increase the security of your setup, then you start looking into hardware wallets. If you've got $100 in Bitcoin, you don't want to spend $100 on a hardware wallet. If you've got maybe, I don't know what a good number is, it's always dependent on what you think, but if you've got $2,000 in a hot wallet, maybe it's time to make that upgrade. You would want to buy a hardware wallet like a Coldcard, and that will store your seed phrase offline. Currently, if you're a beginner, you would be storing your seed online if you're using something like Blue, and that's okay to start with. Then the Coldcard will drastically increase your security by storing your seed offline. And you would connect that to something like Sparrow Wallet to view your balances. But of course, Sparrow would never be able to spend your Bitcoin without the Coldcard, because the Coldcard has the seed phrase. So if you're getting started, hot wallet's fine. Eventually you want to upgrade to a hardware. If you've got a huge stack going, let's say you've got multiple Bitcoin, you might want to look into two things. Firstly is adding a passphrase to your hardware device. And a passphrase is essentially a 25th word. So a seed phrase is either 12 or 24 words. Let's assume you have 24 words. A passphrase is a secret hidden layer to your wallet. So if somebody finds your 24 words, they might not know it's hidden behind a secret passphrase. And that is a great way to add some security to your setup, an extra layer of security. If you've got even more coins, let's say you've got tens of coins, you might consider Multisig. And Multisig is a way to distribute your coins across multiple locations. So for example, a traditional Bitcoin wallet is just one set of words. 12 or 24 words accesses your Bitcoin. Multisig requires multiple seed phrases to access your Bitcoin. Multisig. So the most common setup type is 2 of 3. You generate 3 seed phrases, and you need 2 of them to spend your Bitcoin. So you might be able to distribute that across the planet. For example, you've got 1 seed in South Africa, 1 in Lithuania, 1, it doesn't have to be across the planet actually, 1 in an external vault. Let's say I've just got a vault down the road with some sort of company. Then if somebody attacks my home, there's only 1 seed phrase here. It's impossible for them to spend my coins. I would have to have my seed phrase and the one at the vault to spend the coins because it's 2 of 3. I need 2 of 3 signatures. With Multisig, you can also lose a seed and still have access to your coins because it's 2 of 3. So if somebody does come into my home, steals my seed phrase, I've still got 2 somewhere else, 1 in Lithuania, 1 in an external vault. So Multisig is kind of like the ultimate security you can get. But I don't recommend Multisig for everyone. I think you need to be able to distribute those seeds across multiple locations. If you've got all 3 seeds in your house, I don't really see a point in Multisig. And you also need a lot of Bitcoin and a lot of you need to understand what you're doing. So I help people one-on-one with this kind of thing. And I had someone who was using Multisig and they really didn't have a clue what was going on. And I said to them, you know what, Multisig isn't actually for you. It's too much. You need to balance security with complexity. There's a balance to be made. You want the most secure setup you can have without introducing too much complexity, and Multisig is up there. So yeah, that's how you should progress. I recommend starting with a hot wallet, then getting a hardware wallet, then consider a passphrase, and if you've got a lot of Bitcoin, consider Multisig.
Wonderfully explained. I want to come back a little bit on the passphrase. You mentioned that the passphrase is the 25th word. But let's say your hardware wallet gets stolen and they get to find out your 24 seed phrases. But the passphrase, you have it written in your head. Can they extract your coins or not?
No, they cannot. They need the 24 words along with the passphrase to unlock your wallet. So they essentially need 2 keys to unlock one safe. And if they steal your hardware wallet and they extract 24 words, that's only 1 key. They don't have the other key to unlock the full thing. Probably a better way to describe it actually is a safe within a safe. You've got a vault within a vault. The 24 words unlocks the first vault, but there's actually another vault in that one, and because they don't have your passphrase, they can't get to the final Bitcoin stack. The good thing about a passphrase as well is it's kind of impossible to tell it's there. There's no indication to them. They have your 24 words. It's a perfectly valid Bitcoin wallet in itself. So they may think you have your Bitcoin stack. This second vault's invisible. It's not something they can see. So they would need a second key that they have no knowledge that it exists. So that's a good way to think about how passphrases work.
That's amazing. So basically, if they steal your hardware wallet, but they don't have your passphrase, they won't be able to extract your coins?
No, they cannot extract your coins, no.
Even if they buy a new wallet and enter 24 seed phrases in that wallet?
Yeah, they cannot. They will not be able to access your Bitcoin, yeah.
Perfect. That is huge. I think people should consider using it.
Yeah. Instead of Multisig, one step before Multisig can introduce too much complexity. I think a passphrase is a very great option that not many people consider.
My next question is about Sparrow wallet, because people might conflate the two, because you have mentioned the Coldcard wallet, which is wallet, and the Sparrow wallet, which is also wallet. So can you explain the differences between the two, and how safe is Sparrow wallet?
Yeah. So this is quite a tough thing for beginners to understand, is that there is a difference between Sparrow and your cold card. Sparrow is, if you're using Sparrow with a cold card, Sparrow acts as what we call a view-only wallet. Because your cold card doesn't connect to the internet, it can't connect to a Bitcoin node, it is impossible for the cold card to tell you how much Bitcoin you have. It doesn't connect to the internet. It's like a Nokia. It doesn't connect to the internet. So Sparrow wallet is kind of like your view wallet. It views what's inside the cold card, but it doesn't hold the seed phrase that the cold card stores. So it has something called a public key. The public key is what lets you view your balances. It lets you view your addresses. And if you're using Sparrow with a cold wallet, like a cold card, then you've got the highest level of security that you can get. Sparrow never, if you're using it with that, Sparrow never has your seed phrase, so you actually don't even need to worry about Sparrow being secure in the first place because it doesn't have your seed. Anything that has your seed phrase is what can compromise your funds. So that's a very key distinction to be made. If Sparrow wallet does store your seed phrase, Sparrow can act as a hot wallet and a view-only wallet. If Sparrow does secure your seed phrase, then it's a hot wallet, and your seed phrase is on an internet-connected device. Now, I will add, I've never seen Sparrow being compromised ever. I've never heard of any vulnerabilities. Sparrow is very secure, even if it's storing your seed phrase. It is one of the most widely used wallets out there, so there's a lot of eyes on the code. There's a lot of people testing it. There's a lot of people stress testing it, and it hasn't failed. So Sparrow is very secure. If you're using it with a cold card, you don't even need to worry about the security of Sparrow because it is secured offline anyway. And very important to understand, Sparrow can act as both a hot wallet and a view-only wallet. It's view-only when it doesn't store the seed phrase.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Another question is, there's a lot of talking about UTXOs, and could you please explain what is UTXOs and how should people handle them?
So UTXO stands for Unspent Transaction Output. Now that sounds complex, but I'll try to explain it as best I can. So when you receive Bitcoin, every time you receive Bitcoin, you're receiving a new little chunk of coins. Kind of like if I receive a penny, if you're in the States, I receive a penny, I'm receiving one coin. Every time you receive Bitcoin, or every time I receive a new penny, I'm receiving a new little stack, or a new chunk of Bitcoin, or a new chunk of $1. And if I want to spend Bitcoin, I have to, actually let me first say that your Bitcoin wallet is a balance, it's the sum of all your UTXOs. So just like how if I have 5 pennies, I've got 5 pennies, but that 5 pennies consists of 5 coins. If I've got 5 UTXOs, each of 1,000 sats, I've got 5,000 sats, but that balance consists of 5 UTXOs. Now, it is vital to understand that Bitcoin, when you spend Bitcoin, you need to reference the UTXOs. If I need to spend 5,000 sats, I need to tell my wallet I wish to spend those 5 UTXOs as inputs. I'm going to spend 5 UTXOs and send them to one place. Like I need to take 5 pennies and send them to one place if I wish to spend 5 pennies. Bitcoin charges your fee depending on how much space you take on the blockchain, how much weight there is. Because I'm referencing 5 different UTXOs, I'm taking more space on the blockchain. I need to tell my wallet, spend from this address, spend from this address, spend from this address, spend from this. It's a lot more information. More information, more fees paid. If I have 5 pennies, let's say Bitcoin is charges per weight or per information or per how much data you store. Imagine if transaction fees with pennies was dependent on how many pennies you used. Spending 1 penny was cheap, but spending 5 pennies was more expensive because it was heavier. Think of it like that. If you have lots of UTXOs, it becomes very expensive to spend your Bitcoin because you need to reference so many different addresses to spend from. If you have fewer UTXOs, your fees are dramatically less. That's something you need to understand. It's important. So what people need to do with their Bitcoin stack is ensure that they don't have lots of small UTXOs. If I spend one Bitcoin, it's a lot cheaper to spend a Bitcoin that's one UTXO. So I've got one Bitcoin going straight out. If I need to spend one Bitcoin and I've got 10 UTXOs for 0.1 each, I need to reference 10 UTXOs. It's going to take a lot more data on the blockchain. The blockchain needs to store more information and it's going to charge you more. When Bitcoin fees spike, this makes a huge difference. So you want fewer UTXOs. And the way to do that is to send them to yourself when fees are low. For example, let's say I have $50 times 5 in my wallet. If I were to spend all of them when fees are high, it's going to be expensive. But right now fees are low. So what I'm going to do is join them all together, send them to one of my Bitcoin addresses, and it's going to basically change those 5 into just 1. And when the fees are low, do it. Do that. Consolidate them so that in the future, when you want to spend your Bitcoin, it's a lot cheaper. Bitcoin can only store a certain amount of transactions every 10 minutes. If Bitcoin does what we think it will do, if it reaches mass adoption, it's going to be very expensive to send your Bitcoin because so many people are using it. You need to have your UTXOs in order in preparation for this. If fees spike and you have lots of UTXOs, you're going to get destroyed by fees. So to summarize, you need to join them when fees are low, consolidate them so that you have fewer. The fewer UTXOs you have, the better.
And do you have these tutorials on your YouTube channel?
Yes, so I've got a video on UTXO Management on YouTube within Sparrow Wallet. And that it's quite hard to explain now. I feel like I was rambling on a bit, but it's quite hard to explain how UTXOs work without a visual representation of what I'm saying. And in that video, I actually show you within my wallet what a UTXO is. And I compare the fees there. So I show you what it would cost to spend 5 UTXOs versus what it would cost to spend 1. So that is a great video to watch to understand this a bit better.
Perfect. I really encourage people to go and watch all of your videos because your videos are actually on a higher level and really on a higher security level, which we both prioritize, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, summing up, do you have any book recommendations? And also, what advice could you give to people based on what we have just spoke? Because you see a lot of talking Bitcoin heads just try to picture us how amazing and beautiful Bitcoin future is with all of these price predictions. But few of them talks about Bitcoin security, which you do. So give us your best advice for the people.
Yeah. So regarding books, I haven't read many Bitcoin books. I've read the Bitcoin Standard, and that's about it. So I dive deeper into the security of Bitcoin rather than why I need to store Bitcoin. I'm already sold on that. I already own Bitcoin and only want Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Standard is definitely a must-read. Other than that, I'm not too sure, to be honest. Maybe The Price of Tomorrow is a good book, is what I've heard, but I'm not really sure about books. What I would recommend to people is to use Bitcoin. That's the best way to learn about Bitcoin, is to use it. The reason I know so much about Sparrow Wallet and Coldcard and all these devices is because I use them and I test them and I play around with them. So if you can afford a spare hardware wallet, maybe 2 Coldcards, take the spare Coldcard and mess around with it. Send some Bitcoin there, practice UTXO management, practice restoring your seed phrase. Put the seed phrase in Sparrow, put it in Coldcard, see that the balances match, and try passphrases. Put a passphrase on, see what happens. Send Bitcoin to the passphrase wallet, restore the passphrase. Do use the technology. And that is ultimately the best way to learn about it, I think. YouTube is a great tool. There's so many videos there. Watch those videos, even if you don't want to let's say you don't want a Bitcoin passphrase, watch the video on the passphrase and see how it works and experiment with it. That is the best way to learn. Using Sparrow Wallet as well will just teach you a lot about Bitcoin. Even Sparrow is a great tool, and it doesn't hide information from you. Most wallets want to prioritize ease of use. Sparrow prioritizes functionality, which actually teaches you a lot about how Bitcoin is actually operating behind the scenes. So even just using Sparrow and experimenting with it is great as well. Testnet is a Bitcoin blockchain. It's a different form of Bitcoin where the coins have no value. Getting a testnet wallet, you can do this in Sparrow. I have a video on that, how to use testnet in Sparrow. Is also a great way to learn. The coins are worthless. You don't have to worry about losing them or making a mistake. Get some testnet coins, play around. Spend them, send them to yourself, send them to multiple addresses, practice UTXO management. And yeah, that's the best way to learn is to use it. Practice makes perfect.
Well, thank you so much for all of that. And I really encourage people to go and watch your YouTube videos. So again, thank you so much for coming in, Cole. And it was a really pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.